This is Pee-wee's bowl now feeds the birds. Or the squirrels, which this little guy is watching for. Darth Vader tonight, my boy. Darth Vader. He says, screw your Darth Vader. I want the squirrels.
I said you'll have fun, and I won't disappoint you.
Welcome, fellow Kiss fans. Welcome to It's All For You Demons, celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan. And I feel the trajectory of these episodes every Friday night are headed in a absolute nerd realm. And that's okay, because we're all nerds of our own kind here, and that's half the fun of collecting and loving this band, is just being a nerd. And so tonight, let's go directly into HOTFACE, because the HOTFACE tonight leads to the discussion of nerdery fun. Now, last week I mentioned my HOTFACE was Star Wars childhood fun, and I showed you the Return of the Jedi trading box, and I said I needed to get a wax pack for said box, and I did. The Return of the Jedi Darth Vader wax pack, and that leads us directly into our HOTFACE and subject tonight, Darth Vader. As a kid, 1978, I was huge into Star Wars, knew nothing about Kiss. I was a absolute Star Wars kid. My sister and I, Halloween 1978, there I am, little Darth Vader. Many years later, a stormtrooper, and there I am, 1979, Christmas time, with a Star Wars t-shirt. And one day, as I was going down this rabbit hole of Star Wars childhood fun, going through old pictures, I came across the picture of myself at the John V Museum in front of the Ace Frehley Dynasty cape. And right next to me in the case are the Scream Machine cups, which made me realize how much I love tie-in marketing. You know, you have a rock band, you have a convenience store, Pepsi makes cups for the rock band to be sold in convenience stores and concerts, and it's just a wonderful marketing experience, which jogged my memory. In 1983, we had a wonderful tie-in marketing with Return of the Jedi and Pepperidge Farm cookies. I totally remember getting these. We had the good guys and the bad guys. I went ahead and picked up a box with Darth Vader because he's my favorite character of all time. There you have the box, Darth Vader there on the side, Darth Vader cookie, Jabba the Hutt guard, an Imperial guard, Bib Fortuna, Jabba the Hutt's right-hand man, Jabba the Hutt on this side with a coupon to buy more cookies, and then on the back, a little write-up of the cookies and some tie-in marketing. Now, we never did this as a kid. We never ordered these cups. We had the Dixie cups, but my mom probably deemed this too expensive to venture down this path. But I love the tie-in marketing. And so, at 51 years of age, I have ordered the Pepperidge Farm Return of the Jedi cups. I didn't order them from Pepperidge Farm, ordered them from eBay, but there they are. Jabba the Hutt, Darth Vader, a nice little write-up on the back. I love that it says, enjoy Pepperidge Farm Star Wars cookies with your favorite beverage. These would have been little milk cups for these little kids to dip their Pepperidge Farm cookies in. There's Wicket, R2-D2, and C-3PO, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Lando Calrissian, Princess Leia. Slave Princess Leia. What kid in the 80s didn't love that outfit?
Perfect.
And then the ships, Jabba's barge and the ship that they drove them all out to the pit. That is some super fun. And even cooler to note is the cups in the pictures are different than the cups that arrived. The cups in the pictures are real pictures, and the cups that arrived at a kid's house are drawings. So a wonderful example of the promo item being different than the final item that is sent out. I wonder if any kids were pissed off when they got their cups. But those are so much fun because they are little tiny milk cups for kids to enjoy their Star Wars cookies the summer of 1983. Perfect hot face, perfect lead in to our story tonight of Gene Simmons being the Darth Vader of rock and roll. What is your hot face? Leave those comments below and let's wax. Now again, tonight's topic is kind of silly. It's nerd fun. Who cares? It's fun, we're doing it. My love of Darth Vader as a child made me wonder what is the exact equivalent of that on the Kiss side. A Kiss fan child in 1978. Who was their Darth Vader? Well, of course, it's going to be no one else but Gene. Which further led me to be like, what is the quintessential Darth Vader Gene picture from an album and a poster? I know for myself, 1980 Christmas, I received the Empire Strikes Back soundtrack on album. Double album, gatefold, booklet, magazine inside, much like Alive 2, only the booklet's like stapled into the gatefold, but there was one picture in that gatefold that was my childhood. And it is the picture of Darth Vader, Boba Fett, and Lando talking. And I just remember, like, Darth Vader's so close to the camera, it felt like you could reach out and touch the buttons on his chest. And every time I see that picture, I am once again 6-year-old little Rick. I had childhood fun with this stuff, much like we're having childhood fun with the Kiss stuff. So, what is the Darth Vader Gene Simmons album and poster that would have haunted a kid and spun their imagination in 1978? I think I have two good options, and I think you'll agree with me. These are the most larger-than-life, scary, fun, Darth Vader-esque Gene Simmons pictures that would haunt a kid's childhood. And first up, we're going to go album, and I think we can all agree it is the Kiss Alive 2 album cover. Such a cool album cover. I love how big the logo is. I love the Alive 2 in that stencil font, and quite possibly the coolest picture of Gene Simmons ever. How would this not be your childhood? I'm sure every kid in the world who had this record just stared at this night and day. Playground talks, picnic table talks, the evil of Gene Simmons right here. That is the demon persona. That is the Darth Vader Gene Simmons album cover, back cover, tie-in. And for the poster, we go to a story from my friend Jerry Nibel, who attended the Alive 2 concert here in Kansas City, November 27th, 1977. He told me that there was an ice storm coming to Kansas City that night, and his dad was a truck driver, and his dad was very aware of the weather and the impending ice storm headed to Kansas City, and so he actually made an elementary school, Jerry Nibel, his son, leave that show early so they would beat the weather coming in. And this struck me so hard. I've actually visited this location down at Kemper Arena to tell this story before in a previous video, but this just hit me so hard because I felt the tragedy and depression of a child experiencing probably the coolest Kiss show ever at the time. And he said, I walked out to my dad's car with my head down holding my Gene Simmons poster, and this poster has won my vote of the Darth Vader Gene Simmons poster that would have been on a kid's wall and haunted them and fascinated them all at the same time. And it is also from Alive 2, and it is the Gene Simmons live shot with all of that blood on his chest. I love the fact that this was also sold at the merch stand, so the merch stand would have had all 5 of those Alive 2 posters for a kid to buy, and Jerry walked out to the car with this poster under his arm, and I'm sure it hung on his wall for many years, much like I feared Darth Vader my friend Jerry probably feared and loved Gene Simmons, the Demon. That is also the reason the only soundboard I've ever purchased is the Iowa show from November 29th, 77, because this would have been 2 days after my friend Jerry saw them in Kansas City, and I kind of like the fact that I can hear essentially the same concert that Jerry saw. Well, he didn't see the entire thing. He had to leave halfway through. But I can hear the show that he sat through in Kansas City, and I love this show. And for our final bit of nerdery fun, May 21st, 1980, Empire Strikes Back was released, changed my life as a child, still my all-time favorite movie of all time, number one. January 1981, Teen Scene releases a magazine called Teen Scene, Kiss Strikes Back. Wonder where they got that title at. Wonderful tie-in, more nerdery fun. Let's look at the Woolworth's glory of this magazine. Oh, there he is. There he is. Hello. Thank you for hanging with us tonight and waxing a little rock and roll nostalgia with us here in the Wax Night house. Be good to your babies. Spay, neuter, microchip. You're the first dog I've ever owned that I can actually say neuter. Because I've never had a boy dog before. Spay, neuter, microchip. Take care. Be safe. We will talk to you soon.